Dave Palumbo here with RXMuscle's Iron Road to the Olympia 2018, brought to you by Redcon 1. Today we're going to talk about my Mr. Olympia predictions. You know, it's funny how no one wants to make predictions anymore. Everyone's so afraid of insulting people, of being wrong. And look, who cares? It's fun. I love it. Everyone wants to know what the your predictions are. It doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. It's that's the half of the excitement of the show. The show is kind of anticlimactic because then it's like a wedding. You know, the best part of the wedding is planning the wedding. So let's get to it. Mr. Olympia, Phil Heath going for number 7, of course. Will he get number 8 and tie the record of Ronnie Coleman and Haney, putting him up into that rarefied air of one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time? And we're going to talk about that in a minute. Will he actually be considered one of the greatest of all time just because of the 8 wins? But I think that this year that Phil is coming back with a vengeance. I think he's got something to prove from last year. Even though I thought he looked great, he obviously had some abdominal distension issues. He had the hernia repair in the offseason. A lot of people on the internet, at least, I don't know why he lets these people bother him, but they are, saying, things about, he should have won, and this one, Rodney should have won, and Bonac should have won. And the bottom line is, I think Phil wants to really, slam the door on this number 8. Haney did it. Haney at when he won number 7, a lot of people felt that Lee Labrada should have won that one. And I can't say I disagree necessarily, but so he skated by number 7. Number 8, he came back and he had to face Dorian Yates, and he gave 125% to that one, and he slammed the door and won that one. Phil now going for number 8 here. I think it's, I don't think anyone can beat him. I'll tell you why I don't think anyone can beat him. Because no one beat him last year. It's the same guys on stage. And I don't think guys got that much better. The only person who has the potential really to beat him, when Phil is off, that is Big Ramy. And Big Ramy, I just don't think can get the level of conditioning that Phil has on stage. And I think that's what separates Phil. When you have an unbelievable conditioning, you have the best conditioning on stage, and you have an unbelievable, shape and structure and muscle belly and roundness, that's pretty hard to beat. When I competed back in the day, I had great conditioning. No one had better conditioning than me, but I didn't have the structure of a Phil Heath. So imagine if I had that. Forget about it. So Phil is going to be very, very, very difficult to knock off this year. Once again, because there's no one coming back who he hasn't beaten already, and he's beaten him at maybe not his best. So if he comes back here this year looking better than he did last year, I think it's a slam dunk for him. So I'm going to I have Phil Heath first place. Second place, I have Big Ramy, because I truly believe that no one can stand next to this guy size-wise. I believe that the Camel Crew will bring him in better shape than last year. I still think it's not going to be good enough to beat Phil, but I think it will be better than last year. And he won last year when I thought he should have lost to Bonac. So if he won last year and he comes back better this year, I think Ramy gets an easy second place here. Now, third place is a little more difficult, because that's when you're starting to split hairs. You got Bonac, you got Dexter Jackson, you got Shawn Rhoden. Those are usually your guys that are in that next slot. Once again, if Bonac and Rhoden are off, Dexter's a shoo-in, I think, for that third slot. However, I think that Rhoden's going to be better than last year. He had, people didn't even know this. He revealed to us in an interview earlier that he had ulcers that were bleeding. He had abdominal distension, and that could have been the reason for it. I believe that Rhoden will come back way better this year. When Rhoden is at his best, Dexter can't beat him, and I don't think that Bonac could beat him. Now, once again, will Rhoden be his best? I think he'll be better. Will he be his best? I don't know. I don't think so. I'm going to say that Bonac's momentum that he's carried over from last year's, third place, really should have been second. His win at the Arnold, I think he's coming in here with a lot of rest. I believe that he will be a solid third here, and I think Dexter will just not be able to beat him because Bonac's legs are too good for Dexter's. And I think Dexter will finish fourth. I think Dexter will skate by Rhoden. Now, if Rhoden's better than he was last year, that might be a tough battle. But I'm going to go Dexter just because Dexter's so consistent fourth, and I'm going to go Rhoden in fifth. Now, the sixth position to me is the one that's really up for grabs. I'm aiming towards, Roelly Winklaar is really the guy that I want to go with because of his mass, his conditioning, fan favorite, doesn't have the greatest structure, in terms of waist size, but you know what? He's so big and he's so muscular, and this is the Mr. Olympia competition. That's what it's about. It's about muscle. So for me, I think he pushes past the Nathan D'Ashes and the Brandon Currys, who are going to be right there nipping at his tails. If Roelly's off, I would not be surprised one bit if Brandon Curry sneaks in there. He's had a great year, or Nathan D'Ashes. And I think that they're the next guys in line. But I'm going to go with Roelly in 6th place. So my final, placings are Phil Heath 1st, Big Ramy 2nd, William Bonac 3rd, Dexter Jackson 4th, Shawn Rhoden 5th, and Roelly Winklaar in the 6th position. Who knows? Am I right? I'm usually wrong. I'm terrible with predictions at the Mr. Olympia because I usually go with my emotions and who I want to see up there rather than sometimes going with statistics. But you know what? Statistics mean nothing because you never know what's going on in people's lives. Now the question is, if Phil wins 8, should he be considered one of the best of all time? Up there with Ronnie and Lee Haney. And I had Dennis James on Iron Debate the other day, and he said absolutely he should, and I agree with him. I agree with him. You could win 8 Mr. Olympias in a row and never lose. That's pretty freaking amazing if you ask me. That means not only are you good, but you're consistent. And that's really what typifies a great Mr. Olympia. We were trying to figure out, Dexter Jackson, where his place in history is. He's the winningest bodybuilder of all time. He's won every title that there is out there. Will he go down as one of the greatest? Absolutely. Because, endurance in this thing, the ability to win multiple times over and over is just as important as who's the greatest of all time. Ronnie might have had the greatest physique of all time that one year, or some people think it's 98, 99, some people think it's 03. I like 03 because he's huge, but that doesn't mean, had he not won 8 Olympias, you couldn't say he was necessarily the greatest, but he did win 8 Olympias. So will Phil Heath be one of the greatest? Absolutely. The guy knows how to win. He's beat some of the best in the business. He beat Jay Cutler. He beat Kai Green multiple times. And he's beaten the rest of the field, including Big Ramy. So I think that Phil Heath has to be considered one of the greatest, even if he doesn't win this year. He's still, in my mind, one of the greatest because of his consistency and his ability to bring tremendous conditioning year in and year out. And that's even before he won the Olympia. He was bringing it. I've never seen the guy out of shape. And that's, I can say that about Dexter too. But Phil Heath has beaten Dexter innumerable times. So you have to say that Phil's, greater in the scope of things. Will he win as many shows as Dexter? I don't think so. I think Phil will retire at some point. But, Dexter's the ageless wonder. And that's his gift. So on that note, all my predictions mean a hill of beans until we get to that Olympia Saturday night and we hear those names called out. Will I be right? Who knows? But it was fun to conjecture. Guys, Dave Palumbo with another RXMuscle Iron Road to the Olympia update prediction show. We'll see you next time.